what this technology does is it rebalances the brain. So it increases the size of your judgment center and decreases the size of your impulsivity center. Therefore, you're more likely to have better judgment, shall we say, to make the right decision.
I solemnly swear that I will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God.
Hi everybody, Ron here from The Truth About Addiction. Welcome to another episode, and today we have a lovely lady by the name of Jackie Durnin. She's the founder or runs the program called Hinterland Health Retreat up on the Sunshine Coast, so a bit of God's country anyway. They're like magic happens up here anyway. I live on the Sunshine Coast, so I'm going to be a little bit biased, a little bit. But Jackie, welcome to The Truth About Addiction.
Thank you so much, Ron. It's so lovely to be here.
Yeah. So, Jackie, as we spoke briefly a second ago, my program's called The Truth About Addiction. I only care about recovery and whether it's standing on your hands juggling pineapples or it's going through medical or 12-step or hypnosis or microdosing. I don't really care. It's not relevant to me. To me is the result. How do we stop people's trauma, pain and suffering? So I guess I'll just ask your story, what your involvement was, how you got into this stuff, and we'll go from there, please, Jackie.
Yeah, so I think how I got into this, I probably was on a personal journey myself for a very long time to heal. So I came from an unemployed home and there was sexual abuse when I was a child. And it wasn't really till I immigrated to Australia that I really started addressing how that was affecting my behaviors. I would find I was the person at the party who would drink too much and be the sad drunk because I had so much sadness and trauma inside me, but I had buried it quite deeply. And so I've listened to a number of your podcasts. You sound like a seeker. I was very much a seeker. I wanted to experience different modalities, different therapies, see what would work for me. Through that, I became an EFT, emotional freedom technique practitioner, as well as a counsellor. And the intention was not to do it for anyone else. I just wanted to fix me. Yep. So I got an amazing opportunity in 2013 to go to the world's leading drug and alcohol rehab in Hawaii. It's called Habilitat. So they have a 3-year program and they transfer. Probably 85% of the people there are transferred from the prison system for drug-related offences. I got to spend 2 weeks there, and they had us there because while they say they have, I think their success rate is something like 68%. Like it's quite a high success rate. There, the thing they really wanted us to work on was that people, even if they've been in the program 3 years, would still have that addictive feeling. And they said, we want you to work with them. So they made us fake drug kits, like whatever drug. They gave us a big education on every drug, what it's called, all its nicknames, so we could work with these people. And it was a huge learning opportunity for me, and also really interesting because I think I met all these people, when you first see them, they're probably, lots of tattoos. They could be quite intimidating, quite scary, or like potentially. Yeah. The Habilitat is run quite like an army camp. There's very, very strict rules, and if you disobey, you're punished. And it was really interesting to see how that worked. But when I would go into a one-on-one session, like all I kept meeting over and over again, it didn't matter if it was heroin, meth, cocaine, it didn't matter what the drug was, alcohol, I would suddenly be sitting in front of a little boy or a little girl who had trauma in their life. Yeah. And sometimes they would meet me and go, you know what, like my background, sometimes you'd have the odd person who said, I didn't have any trauma. But I think we as adults simplify what trauma is. So if you're a child, losing your teddy bear is the biggest trauma of your life. But as an adult, we look back and we go, no, nothing really happened. So when people think of trauma, they think, rape or, horrendous acts. It doesn't actually have to be that. But all these beautiful souls, I could just see the light go back on in their eyes. And I had been working in corporate And I came back, I was like, I can't do that anymore. Like, I really need to follow what, brings me joy. And I really just wanted to help people and help them find the light inside themselves again, because we all have the answers. We just maybe don't know the way there.
Yeah.
So I came back and I quit my corporate job and I got a job at a health retreat. And, I met people from all walks of life, everybody who was there for depression or anxiety, a lot of it people who were there for addiction, all ages, shapes and sizes. And I think from that, I was like, there was things that I liked, and then there was also things that I thought they're different, and there are ways that I would do it differently. About a year ago, I met my business partner, and I was talking about that it's a dream that I've wanted to set up a health retreat. It's never been the right time. I had a baby. I wanted to spend some quality time with him because I'd spent many years in IVF trying to have this child. So I really wanted to give him a lot of time before he went to school. We were building a house. So I was like, it's not the time. But when it is the time, I see this vision of setting something up. We can really create tailored programs for every individual because we're all unique. And like you say, not everything works for everybody. So it's working out what works for that individual and creating something, because we're in an age of technology, and it's like, surely there's technology out there that can really help and support people who have mental health or addiction. I feel like it was quite divinely led because I started researching, and it's funny, if I try and Google for these products now, I cannot find them. It's like, I don't know how I found them, but I found an amazing range of technology. I'm describing it as neuro-technology because it really works with your brain. It's really helping to assist people if we talk about specifically addiction, there's a couple of pieces of technology. So one that springs to mind is we do an EEG of the brain. And so this lady in the US has been using this technology for over 3 years. I think it's almost 5 years, but she's been independent, had a third party independently following all her clients. And they're having an 85% success rate with people not relapsing. But what she noticed is when she does an EEG of the brain of someone who has addiction, their impulsivity center is larger or out of proportion compared to their judgment center. So what this technology does is it rebalances the brain. So it increases the size of your judgment center and decreases the size of your impulsivity center. Therefore, you're more likely to have better judgment, shall we say, to make the right decision for you. Because as she said, time and time again, she would do all these amazing therapies and then send them off. But she was like, there was like a missing piece. And what she felt this missing piece was actually just working on rebalancing the brain. I'm just really excited. We're not opening till November 2024. And we will only be doing 6 people at a time. And it's going to be a 28-day program to really try and maximize the most that we can do for each of the individuals. We'll have an IV clinic on site because, usually when there's addiction, there's depression and anxiety rolled in, or combinations of that. And seeing if there's any way that we can naturally boost their system to help them feel better, doing genetic testing to see, can we create a meal plan that, will help them, to suit their genetic makeup, and then doing lots of mind, body, and spirit therapies. Because I think in some of the retreats that I've been exposed to, it can be very mind, and it's like, let's just focus on the mind, but your body also stores the trauma. And there's fantastic body modalities, and like an example of one is trauma release exercises. And what I like about some of the things that I've chosen to put into the retreat, they're things that someone can take home. So for me, it's about, let's empower this individual, give them a cool tool set. They can go out and be the best version of themselves and be resilient, because life's going to throw shit at us, right? It's just, do we have the tools to manage that in a better way and using different behaviors perhaps than we did in the past? And the goal for me is hopefully that like some of the health retreats can have almost a revolving door policy, and I really mine is like, with all due respect, I really don't want to see people again. My goal is that hopefully yes, of course, we can do more. If you need more sessions or you need support, we're going to do a comprehensive aftercare program. But my goal is that we really send you out with all the tools, helping you clear as much of the old belief systems, the old patterns, however you've held these memories in your mind that have been affecting you and your behavior in the present moment, so that you can be the best version for yourself and for your family. Because 9 times out of 10 there are people around you that are being affected, whether it's your parents or your children or your spouse, or even maybe even just close friends. So yeah, I'm just very excited about what this kind of combination can do for people. And yes, I can't wait to get the doors open.
Yeah. A couple of things you touched on. I believe addiction's threefold. I believe it is mental. I believe it's physical. And I believe it's spiritual. A lot of places only focus on one thing. Or,
Totally agree.
I had to smile when you said, I'm a searcher. I went to India in 1987 to the ashrams looking for a spiritual connection because I had no spiritual connection. And then I did yoga for many, many years. I did Ashtanga yoga for the physical because I was always a physical guy, but I was always a weightlifter and a boxer and this aggressive type of physical being.
Yeah.
And people said yoga to me, I'd smirk. And yoga, that's for girls, like I'm a tough guy. I got tattoos. And I did a thing called Ashtanga yoga. It used to kill me.
Yeah.
It was the hardest physical training I've ever done in my life because I had to breathe and I had to be present and I had to be consistent and reliable and all these wonderful words that weren't part of my training regime. I was consistent, but I was aggressive and I was forceful. Where I had to be gentle and I had to be flexible and
Yeah.
I learned that if you're not flexible, you break.
Yeah.
It's a big thing with flexibility. You must be. I have an old Greek mother brought me up. She's not my real mum. My mum passed when I was a child. And she said to me, Ronnie, when a tree grows, it takes a long time because the roots have to go out. She was talking about recovery for me because she took me on when I first got into recovery. She said, if the tree grows too quickly, when the wind comes, it falls over. So be gentle, be quiet, let the roots grow and don't try to get too big too quick. She said, because you will fall over, And I'm actually an old person now. I like it. I like older people because of their wisdom. I enjoy their wisdom because their wisdom comes from experience.
Totally.
There's no substitute. That's why when you said that, you're a sad drunk, I was a violent drunk because my father was a violent man and I grew up in violence.
Yeah.
So what we were implanted as children, it reflects, comes out. I always say a drunk hero says what the sober coward would want to say.
Totally. Totally. And I also
Yeah.
find you that 18-year-old version of me. I believe we all send an energy out to the universe, and that attracts back whatever it needs to help bring up the shit that we need to address. And when I was 18, I was sending out a signal of, deep down in my core, I was very sad, traumatized, helpless, hopeless, out of control. And I attracted a couple of scenarios where there was a guy that I was like snogging at the nightclub, met him a few times, and he was involved in an accident and he died. And I was so sad. I was sadder than his ex-girlfriend who had been with him for 7 years. And I couldn't understand why I was crying and wailing. But it was because I had all of this deep trauma. And it was like the universe delivering this gift of this guy into my life because it's trying to help you release it. And then a year later, on the anniversary, the guy that I was seeing, Ben, was snogging. I had a prediction. I had this feeling that he was going to be involved in an accident, and the same thing happened again. And it was like, is there something wrong with me? But it was like these situations were being brought into my life to go, Jackie, you need to look inside. There's there's a lot of stuff that needs to be addressed, but I didn't feel like I could do it when I was at home. I'm like from this very small town. Everybody knows everybody. And I needed to wait till I came to Australia and then proceeded to start going to counselling. But for me, what counselling did was it just made the story louder in my head. It didn't really change the way I held the story in my head, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It was just a louder story because it was probably one that I wasn't really talking about a lot, and now I just was talking about it quite a bit. But once I discovered emotional freedom technique, or EFT, life really started changing, because I remember going for a weekend workshop, and they offered you, to do a demo of how it works. They would offer you a little small piece of chocolate, and you would get to say, how much do you want the chocolate out of 10? And it would be near a tea break, and you're like, 10. And then they would do some like tapping on meridian points and say things about the chocolate, and then they go check again, and I'm like, maybe a 5, and then they'd suddenly get you down to 0. And so they were introducing the concept of, you have these meridian points in your body. If you tap on them, they're relaxation centers, and you can ultimately help change the way that you feel and change the way that you hold memories in your mind. And I thought, well, I need to learn this, everything I can about this. And I dove in to become a practitioner and started working with other practitioners to help me work on my sexual abuse memories so that they wouldn't have the same impact on me.
Yeah.
Both the way I held them, but also the way they were affecting me with males, like with my boyfriend, now husband, or any boyfriends in the past. It was very difficult for me to hear them ask me to do something, and it could be simple things like, could you wash the dishes and I'll put out the bins or something. It's not like they're being aggressive but the little girl in me would almost shut my ears off, and I wouldn't hear them because I knew that would she thought it was going to cause me pain. So what EFT really did for me was help make that little girl feel safe, and also really help me clear the memory that I had in my mind, because you can actually do a technique called re-imprinting, because the way your EFTers think about it is, a lot of the time when you see a memory, you're seeing it and you can see yourself in the memory. So on some level, you've made up the picture, because how is that even possible that you could have taken a picture of yourself? So if you've made up this picture of this event that's making you feel like shit, well, let's just make up a better picture. And, so it's not, it's helping you release all of the emotion connected to it. And once it's all cleared and you don't have any emotional response, then it's like, okay, well, I have a filing system of all these amazing memories, so I don't know, put something better in there that's going to make me feel awesome. So that's definitely something that we want to incorporate into Hinterland Health Retreat, because I've just seen time and time again the impact that it has had on depression, anxiety, addiction, physical pain. It's just very, very powerful. And I've had a lot of experiences. It's with over the years, there's been a lot of times people are like, quite like, the yoga, almost your analogy of yoga. They go, you're going to tap on my face and I'm going to feel what? Like, what a load of shit.
Yeah.
Sure. Like, well, let's just try it anyway. Like, we've got nothing to lose. And then by the end, they're like, shit, where did that anger go? Or my addictive feeling was 10 out of 10 or 20 out of 10, especially if I bring out my magical kit of drugs, they'll pretend drugs. You can evoke a response from people seeing whether it's the needle or whatever substance I have. And then by the end, it's like 0. And it's like they're picking up, I'm giving to them, and it's like they're picking up a pen. There's just no emotional response to that. I even had one guy very kindly offer to make me some of my pretend drugs, because he said some of them were pretty shit and he could have done a much better at creating fake drugs. But yeah, I think EFT is something that is very powerful. So I think through my own journey, finding all these amazing either practitioners or modalities that really helped people, and putting them together under one roof. And really, the goal is just to create long-lasting change. Like, the way I look at it is, there's no such thing as fixing a person, because we're always a work in progress. Like, there's Like I'm not perfect. I'm triggered. Like there's still going to be things that trigger me, but I try to be more conscious and more present, and um, you know, not take as long to realize that that little girl is actually in the driving seat, and um, it's not being very helpful in the current situation.
Yeah. Can you drink now?
Yeah, I do, but I don't drink very much. I think I got to a point of I noticed that, like I said, I was the sad drunk, or I was just drinking too much.
Mm.
Now I do drink, but very infrequently. I just feel it doesn't agree with my body. I feel very inflamed afterwards. Um, yeah, and I think also my husband, probably about 2 years ago, just decided to drink. I think he's in his mid 40s, and he's like, if I drink now, like I don't even have to have that many. I'm hungover, and it's just I'm not very productive. We have a 6-year old. So it's like I want to be present for him, and I think
Yeah.
when you have a partner who doesn't drink as well, you're just not. You're
Yeah.
Friday night, or you know what I mean. We're quite happy to just relax and kick back and watch a movie or whatever. But I don't completely, I haven't eradicated it out of my life. If there's a wedding or if there's an event, I'll go and I can have a few. Or when we, when we bought the property for this wonderful Hinterland Health Retreat, of course, I had a quick glass of sparkling. But yeah, it's not the driving force that it was probably when I was in my teens or my 20s, when, it's like, that's all you do. It's like you saved all
Mm.
your money to go
Yeah.
drinking on the weekend, and you know, yeah.
Yeah. I found that the reason I don't take chemicals anymore is because I don't need to cover anything up.
Well, I think that's true too.
Before I drank and drugged to cover the way I felt, to numb, to anaesthetize, to divert, to hide. And once I found I didn't have anything more, like I just had some really big surgery the other week, and I used to look forward to having surgery just for the drug.
Yeah, yeah.
And now it's like, oh, this is horrible. I don't like this drug anymore. I don't like, because I'm not trying to cover
Oh,
anything anymore. I'm not trying to. So EFT, in some ways, have you heard of the ED?
yes, and I do that. I go to a psychologist who does that on me because I really wanted to try that because it has a lot of similarities. So EMDR, you can be like humming tunes or tapping parts of the body as well as doing eye movements, whereas EFT, you're tapping on meridian points, and sometimes you're singing. You can sing "Happy Birthday" or something, but it's like to give your mind a job while it processes the
Yep.
bomb. So there are definitely a lot of similarities. I have found EMDR absolutely fantastic, and it is something that we would have in at the retreat because it really, really helps with people who have trauma. I
It's
think
really,
it's. Have you tried it yourself?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
it's fantastic.
I was lucky enough. I was 27 years clean. Well, I haven't had a drink since 1982, and I haven't had a drug since 1986. And I'm I I'm one of them people that came from such a traumatic background. My father was a gangster. I'd shot my first man at 16,
Yeah,
and that was normal. That wasn't abnormal. I was actually chastised and abused for only shooting him in the leg and not killing him.
right.
I was a failure. I was a failure as a gangster because I didn't kill my first man. So I came from a very traumatic place, and I went through a lot of treatments over the years, and I searched and searched and searched, and I had a friend that I helped find abstinence from drugs, and we hadn't seen each other for 20 years, and um, the universe put us back together, and he was the master of EMDR in Australia.
Oh, no way.
And
That's the
but
universe walking in right there.
yeah, and the funny part was I helped him 20 years beforehand get sober and get clean,
Wow.
and I got sent to him by the system, by the services, the corrective services, and said, you're such a naughty boy still.
Yeah.
We don't care about you not taking drugs. We know you're still a gangster. I went and seen him. He's like, oh, mate, and I said, stop. I'm here on a professional level, And he's like, and he says, I do this thing called EMDR. And I said, what's that rubbish? And he goes, mate, can we try it? And because I'd known him for a long period of time, and he'd had a liver transplant, he'd become really sick with hepatitis and had a liver transplant. And then he got sick again. The hepatitis C, it attacked the new liver.
Oh, right.
So he was actually dying when he was treating me.
Oh, wow.
And he did EMDR with me, and he was trying to teach me EMDR. And it's really crazy. As I said, it's 11 years ago now. It was one of the best treatments I've had in the 43 years that I've been searching through recoveries.
Yeah.
It was one of the most cleansing, stabilizing, emotional things I've done in my whole recovery.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff lost its power. Because where before you said things would still trigger me, the things that would trigger me that we dealt with had stopped triggering me. Yeah. I have the memory. I don't have the feeling.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
The memory doesn't go. I don't get a brain cleanse. I get an emotional stability.
Yeah.
So it lost its power, which was so beautiful because I was still very reactive, even though I'd been drug-free and sober for a long time.
Yeah.
That's why when I found out about your program, what you're going to do, it's like, yeah, shit, yeah, I want to listen to this. Because for my listeners, I don't put a line through anything.
Yeah.
As I said, if you stand on your hands and juggle pineapples and you find a peace and a love and a kindness and a nurturing that makes you love yourself and like yourself and be a good human being to others, and to be of service, I'm for it.
Totally.
Because I like being a human being, not a human taking.
Yeah.
And when I'm in any sort of addiction or trauma, I'm a human taking. I'm taking away your joy because you said before, it's like a pebble. You throw it in the ocean, the ripple effect affects everybody.
Oh, it's massive. Yeah.
Recovery does the same.
Yeah.
I have a daughter who's 42 years of age this year, and she works in drug and alcohol. She's just left her job. She's a nurse. She's an RN.
Yeah.
And she was working in drug and alcohol at a private rehab, and she's 17 years clean herself and 18 years clean. And she said, I just don't feel that we're doing a good enough job. So she only left 2 weeks ago. It was really funny.
Oh, wow.
On the Sunshine Coast, she's like, I'm going to go back and just do nursing and something else will come along, And
I'm looking for a nurse.
Yeah, she's like, Dad, it just wasn't fulfilling her because she wasn't happy with the after service and they'd lost. Is only my opinion. They'd stopped worrying about the person instead of the profit.
I totally hear you. So when I met my business partner, I said, the intention of this is to help people. Number one, has to be to help people. Can't be to make money. I've worked in places and that energy oozes out everywhere and it affects everybody who's there. And it's awful. I was like, number one mission is to help people. You can make money as a result if you're truly out there helping people in your joy. I have no doubt that you would make money.
Yeah.
And he was like,
I have my whole life.
Yeah, he agreed. He was like, yes, I think that needs to be the focus. It has to be that we're here to help people. So I feel the same.
Yeah. I'm a massive believer in that.
And really wanting to attract practitioners. It's kind of like there's a lot of amazing practitioners out there. There's also practitioners, quite like any other profession. They've just been doing it a long time and maybe they have lost their joy or they've lost their...
Yep.
It's like they're doing it because that's all they know what to do. So making sure that we have people who truly they're magicians at work. That's the only way I can describe. When you find these practitioners who are in their bliss and in their joy and they're doing what they're actually have been sent here to do.
Yeah.
When they come together, magic happens. And we're very, very lucky on the Sunshine Coast. There are a lot of amazing magicians out there. Because I don't claim that I can, of course I can do EFT sessions and there's a few other things I can do, but I am not the be all and end all. There's no way that I have all the answers. And that's why.
How boring would that be?
I know, it would be so boring. And God, my ego would be out of control if that was the case. But just creating an amazing team and who can be there for the that person really help, like I say, connect them to their light again. Because like I've just see it time and time again in sessions when people have released some of their trauma or their whatever it is that's weighing them down. It's almost like this light goes on, and
Yeah, I call it that. I call it exactly what you said then. It's the light bulb moment.
yeah, it
I
is.
see it in people when they're getting clean, and it sounds funny. I went down to Sydney on the weekend to celebrate a friend of mine's 40th year anniversary of recovery,
Oh wow.
and I helped him 40 years ago, and I'm the godfather of his 38-year-old daughter, and I went down to Sydney to celebrate, and he's leaving Australia today to go to America to go to a world convention in recovery circles. These are things that, and he also worked in a high stress job that made a lot of money for the first 25 years. And then he said, I'm over it. And he went and worked in a rehab for the next 15 years. And he just retired this year.
Yeah, because that's
And
not
he
what it's
said, mate,
about. Like it's not about
it's not about
all
money.
the material possessions in the world and be deeply, deeply unhappy. I think
I
you're
have a saying that I know people that are so poor, all they have is money.
yeah, so
And I
true.
mean that sincerely. I have friends with hundreds of millions of dollars that I wouldn't swap their life for 1 second.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? It's about quality. And that's why, I really hope your program brings joy to people and brings freedom and peace, because to me, life is about love. It sounds funny. I feel like every time I say it, I hear all you need is love. I'm 70 years of age. I hear the Beatles all the time.
yeah.
Maybe it's the voices in my head.
Love the
But,
Beatles though.
all I hear is that, all you need is love. And I was a little boy when they sang that song, in 1966. I was 12 years of age and I wasn't as damaged
Yeah,
as what I was by the time I was 16.
yeah,
And it resonated with me. I went to, they came to Australia in 1966. My biggest sister, she took me to the hotel where they were, and we were all waving. Probably wasn't even the same window that they were at, but, we were all, hey, everyone was waving. I still remember as a little kid. And I was just thinking, okay, if all we need is love, why don't we have any food on our table? Because my father was a gambler and a bad guy. And then other days we'd be eating, fish and chips, which was a big deal. To be eating fish and chips, you were quite rich in my area. I grew up in the slums. And then the next week you'd be eating bread and dripping bread and fat, that's come off the old meat. That's what we call dripping in Australia. And we'd be eating that with pepper and salt on it because we'd be poor because my dad gambled whatever money was in the house.
yeah,
But the only thing we had in my house, and this is true, was my mother's love.
yeah,
And that was the thing that was gifted to me, that kept me alive to 70 years of age nearly,
yeah,
that taught me to be a good father, to taught me to be a good husband, because my father taught me everything not to be.
yeah,
But I had this little seed of my mum protecting me and cuddling me, even when she was being beaten. That nurturing, loving feeling of this little woman. She was only 4'11", my mum, and she was tiny, and my old man was 6 foot something, ex-heavyweight boxer,
right, okay.
youngster. And there was this woman who had this. My father was a coward, and my mother was a superhero. Like the
Yeah,
the ironic part of a child still trying to work that stuff out. And over the years of my recovery, and I use the word recovery, of recovering from the trauma, recovering from the belief systems, the doctrines, because a lot of our problems comes from our doctrines, what
oh,
we're taught.
totally. I was
You're
brought up,
useless, worthless, and hopeless.
yeah, and I was
Okay.
brought up Catholic, so you were just brought up with a lot of guilt. You were,
Yeah, that one's not a good one.
so I would describe myself as spiritual now.
Yeah, I
It's
went to the Yasrams. I went to Buddhism. I love Buddhism. It's just a way of life. It's just, am I a Buddhist? Yeah, probably. Am I a Christian? Yeah, probably. Am I Hindu? Yeah, probably. I'm just me. I'm just
well,
me.
and also
It's
maybe
not.
just trying to be a good, caring, kind human being. You don't have to have a religion or a doctrine. You can just be a nice.
I had a Geshe. He was a Buddhist, of course, and he's a lovely little guy, a little Tibetan guy. And he said to me, and don't get me wrong, Jackie, I'm not pretending I was a bad guy. I was a criminal. And he knew me, and he knew me well, and one day he said to me, "You don't believe in religion, do you, Ron?" And I said, "No, I don't." And he went, and he slapped me across the face. Really, he's a little. And when he slapped me, he looked right into my eyes. He said, "When you have a good heart, you don't need religion."
Oh,
And it was just so cute, because he was just a funny little Tibetan man. His English was really broken up.
yeah,
And he just said to me, he said, "When you have a good heart, you don't need religion."
yeah.
And
That's
and he said, the difference between us and a lot of other people, he's of course a Buddhist. He said, "I don't care, Catholic, if you're a Jew, if you, whatever you are, as long as you have a good heart." He said, "It doesn't matter." He
that's
said, "It's just." He went on to become a lama. He went back to Tibet and became a lama and went right through the whole system. And it's really funny. I have a giant tattoo on my back of Jesus Christ.
yeah,
And people say, "Oh, you're religious." And I said, "No, I put that there for when I was being whipped. Because in the old days, if you had a religious symbol on your back and you were being whipped, the person whipping you would be afraid of." So
yeah,
all my stuff was this crazy connection. It was a connection with spirituality. I have Buddhist tattoos on my hand. I have all my arms are tattooed for my mum in religion because she was a Catholic.
yeah,
So I've got Jesus and all that stuff all over my arm. But it was all for my mum. And I
yeah,
don't deny that there was a guy called Jesus, but I never met anyone who met God.
yeah,
I never met it. I believe he came, he hung out with the hookers and the drunks. So maybe I was Jesus reincarnated. I hang out with a lot of hookers and drunks too.
yeah,
But the beautiful part is, it's what I do, not what I say.
yeah.
It's
Totally.
my intentions.
Yeah,
My intentions why we do these podcasts is to carry a message of hope.
yeah.
There is a way out. Please don't give up before the miracle happens.
Don't.
Keep searching.
I think there's also, I call it the universe. I feel like there's lots of times over our lives, like when you met your friend who happened to be like the master of EMDR,
Yeah,
we get these opportunities and sometimes we just may not see them. And there is always help available. Maybe we
yeah,
just can't see. When I think back, one of my first jobs in Australia was working for a drug and alcohol rehab for teenagers in Sydney. And I was like, I feel like that was the universe kind of trying to nudge me into, and I was doing marketing at the time. So, but I think they were trying to get me into the arena of helping people.
yeah.
Um, and, but I remember watching this great documentary. It was Darren Brown. I don't know if you've heard of him in the UK. And he did this experiment, and there was a guy in the town who claimed he was the unluckiest person in the town, and he had lots of proofs on why he was. So they decided to see if that was actually true. So they were doing stuff like throwing money down in front of him almost, and he would just walk by, he didn't see it. They would put big billboards, pulled on the back of a car going, whatever his name was, Mike Johnson, you have won a TV, call, whatever, and he didn't see it. And at the end of the week, there was lots of examples of this, and they brought him and they showed him all of the times that they were trying to show him that he could have been lucky and he could have won. And it completely transformed his life, because then it made him realize that on some level there was like tunnel vision, and it made him kind of open up and go, oh my God,
Yep.
what other opportunities have I been missing? And I think
Yep.
that happens us sometimes, that we just kind of maybe get caught up in our own little world, that maybe we don't see the person who's offering us EMDR, or another person who's telling us about something that helped them, or maybe it's almost like a sliding door situation. But I feel like there always is some sort of hope in the room somewhere. You just really have to look. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's
I
there.
say opportunity knocks, but you've got to be sober enough to open the door.
That's true too. Yes,
You
you
know,
do.
you've got to be sober enough. But look, I'm really excited to have something on the Sunshine Coast. We have a couple of rehabs on the Sunshine Coast. When I come here, I've been here since 1993. There was nothing,
Yeah,
nothing, and it's been an exciting time for me to watch it grow.
yeah,
And there is a lot more coming. I believe there's good stuff happening. I really do. I believe,
yeah.
again, a revolution of awakeness and awareness.
And I think the land up here is so healing, and like where Hinterland Health Retreat is, it's 30 acres. a couple of waterfalls, a rainforest walk. And as soon as you put your bare feet on that land,
Yeah.
the land in itself just completely nourishes your soul and calms your whole nervous system down. It's very, very, very magical place to be. So we'll have to get you over to have a look.
I'd love to come and look. I really would.
Yeah.
I live on acreage here.
Well, I'll definitely have you over and you can have a walk around and I can show you
Yeah.
the magic
When you
that
were
it
saying, then I was laughing myself because I live in paradise. You know,
is.
I have a Balinese hut out the front and a little lake that we built, and I'm sitting here, and my children have got a playground there. My wife's got a veggie garden over there, and I have a man's cave up here, and
You've got
you
it
know,
all.
yeah, and it's all because I'm drug free,
Yeah.
and I can lose it all tomorrow if I choose to go back to that way of life.
Yeah.
And that's the message I try to carry to everybody: is it's a daily program. You know, everybody gets so caught up into tomorrow's and yesterday's.
Yeah.
Tomorrow's a mystery. That's just an imagination.
Yeah.
Yesterday's history. Let's let go of it and get on with what we got. They
Yeah.
call today the present because it's a gift.
Yes.
We have to enjoy the gift of today,
Yeah.
the gift of right here and now. You know, this is.
I think that's what I've seen as well with a lot of clients over the years. They're either spending their time in the future worrying about what if, or in the past reliving these old memories. And sometimes they're not even conscious they're doing it. It's just
Yeah.
all of this trauma. And I've also met some really interesting people over the years who have been very spiritually gifted or psychically gifted. And they've turned to drugs because they had to drown that out. They just didn't know how to deal with that.
Yeah.
And some very interesting sessions with these amazing characters where all of those gifts were starting to come back, but they felt more equipped with how to deal with it. Was where they were a child, they had no idea when they were hearing voices or seeing things that other people weren't seeing, what was actually going on for them. So, yeah, it's
There is some really talented people on the coast.
amazingly
There
talented.
are. When you were saying that, then I was thinking about some of the people that I talk to. I have a program that I've got guys that I've been looking after for over 20 years up here.
Yeah.
And, you know, I've watched them go from 22-year-old little boys to successful men with wonderful wives and children, and
that's
and be good dads. I don't care about their financial stuff.
Yeah.
I don't. It doesn't interest me. It really doesn't. I love to see them achieve and to be successful, and that's not the stuff that impresses me. Taking their boy to the football or the soccer and watching their kid train, or taking the little girl to gymnastics and being at home for his wife and being loyal and being faithful and talking about. See, I'm a little bit old school. If I'm with a bunch of guys and they're talking about, we'll go to the strip club, I don't want to know about them guys.
Yeah.
Because if you're going to cheat on the person that you live with, what are you going to do to me?
Yeah.
If your mentality that you can cheat on that person, wow, you're going to tear me to pieces.
Yeah. But what's going on underneath for that person as well, you know?
Yeah, 100%.
How probably in the toilet, and somebody may have abandoned them in the past or whatever, or they don't feel worthy for the love of that good person that's standing in front of them, so they choose a strip club.
The word you touched on there is a really good word, worthy.
Yeah.
Because I believe a lot of this affliction, problem, I call it self-mutilation. A lot of stuff we do is self-mutilating, whether it's emotional, spiritual, physical. We're self-mutilating. We're compounding the hatred, the self-worthlessness. And that's what we have to learn. We have to learn to love. We have to learn to love ourselves. Until we can love ourselves, we can't love somebody else.
Totally.
Until we can trust ourselves, we can't trust somebody else. Until we can depend upon ourselves, we can't depend upon anybody else, you know? And that lie of completely letting ourselves down one day after the other, one after the other. I was just trying to look around to see if I have 8 demands that I run all my programs off.
Yeah, I saw them. On your site.
They're my whole formula to life, with everything.
Yeah. That's
my formula to work, relationships with my family, my friends, my business, but to myself. Now that's them there. Yeah. That is the most important part of my whole world.
Yeah.
Until I had those demands, I wasn't responsible. I didn't have to answer to anybody.
Yeah.
Because I was never open. I was never accepting. I was never reliable. I was never consistent. I was never thorough. I was one of the guys that starts a million jobs and finishes none.
Yeah.
I wasn't congruent because I'd tell you to do stuff and I wouldn't do it myself. I
Yeah.
had no self-respect and I had no understanding of honesty. So, because I thought honesty was about not stealing or cash register honesty, I call it. But what about with the fact that, hey, I'm not coping today?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, God
I
forbid
don't,
you talk about your emotions.
yeah, I don't feel that great today.
Yeah.
See, and all those demands are about emotions, to be open with your thoughts and your feelings, to accept the things you can't change,
Yeah.
to rely upon somebody greater than yourself.
Yeah.
Because I say the definition of insanity is making the same mistake and expecting different results. And most drug addicts do that continually. It'll be different this time. I'll only have one. I won't take any Coke. I'll just drink some beer.
Yeah.
They have 2 beers and they're snorting a line of Coke. I won't shoot it up. I'll snort it, and all this
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
justification. And I say to people all the time, if you're crazy, you need to speak to somebody who's less crazy than you, so they can tell you, hey man, you're crazy. I've had the same spiritual advisor for 38 years, and I still speak to him consistently.
Oh, fantastic.
And we don't speak about problems. We say, hey, mate, how you doing? So that when I do have a problem, it's easier to talk to him.
Yeah.
I've had the same spiritual advisor for 38 years, and
That's
I
fantastic.
love the guy. I respect him. We've known each other for 43 years, but he's been my advisor for 38 years, and that's testimony to his patience, putting up with me for that long.
Yeah. I think that's
It's
the
just,
thing because I think it's for men. It's tough for men because well, it depends on their upbringing, but there's a societal thing. They to be that strong person. Don't show weakness. Don't show emotion, and it's getting better, but um, it's not as easy for a man to be in touch with their emotions as it is for women. Um, so I think it's fantastic that you have someone that you can call because I don't think there's a lot of men out there. I think they have mates, but they're mates that they can have banter with. You don't talk
yeah,
about emotions. You just talk about the footy or, you know, you
yeah.
talk shit with them, right?
Ego.
Yes, you talk about stuff that's
Ego.
not actually really important when it comes to you
Yeah,
in your life.
yeah,
And I think for men to find someone that they can actually trust and feel safe to be vulnerable with um, is really, really important. And whether that's your spouse, but if you have a mate, even better. If you have a bloke that you could talk to, I think that would be great. That you
I mean,
can,
you've got to have a bloke to talk to so you can talk about your spouse.
well, exactly. That's what I was going to say too, because you can't go to your wife when you're pissed off with your wife.
Yeah, yeah. And plus, my wife's got selective hearing. She can only hear what she wants to hear.
I think that's a
No,
woman
look,
trait, right? We're very
yeah.
good at that.
I'm quite sure if the football's on, she doesn't hear much from me either. Just quietly, she can talk to me while the footy's on. I don't hear nothing.
Yeah.
But look, Jackie, look, I'm really optimistic, and I wish you all the best. And I do want to come and have a look and check it out. And if I can assist you in any way, I will. But we'll talk about that off the podcast.
Yeah, no,
But I really, really, really am excited. Hinterland Health Retreat. Check it out, guys. Go on the internet. You can Google it. I did. And if I can find it, anyone can find it. Opening in November. I think when I read it today, they said, you can jump on the list now and get in a lineup. And look, Jackie, look, I really, really appreciate you coming on The Truth About Addiction. I'm sure that you're going to bring some sunshine to someone's life. And if we can do that, we're blessed. We really, really are.
exactly.
If we can help one person, our job's complete.
That's it, exactly. Yes, I'm very excited. But thank you so much for having me on. It's been fantastic. I've really enjoyed it, and it's been lovely to connect. And yeah, look forward to having you for a visit at the retreat.
I solemnly swear that I will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God.